Yuck. Disgusting. What is this? I can't eat this. I'd like to see the face of the person who made such awful food. With a snide smile, Sabrina, my mother-in-law, tasted a bite of the food before me and then slammed it into the trash can. Treating food like that, I thought she was the worst kind of person. But is it really okay to do something like that? Your most beloved son, my husband, is sitting right next to me, looking like he's about to cry, you know? My name is Sophia. I'm a 30-year-old office worker. I married my husband Hilbert 2 years ago, and we don't have kids yet. Of course, we'd love to have them someday, but right now, I want to cherish the time with Hilbert. That's what I was thinking. Hilbert has always been incredibly kind since the day we met. I've never even seen him angry. As a working couple, we divided the household chores. I handle cooking, while Hilbert takes care of cleaning, each of us playing to our strengths. I'm not saying my cooking skills are professional, but thanks to being taught by my cooking-loving mom, I can manage Japanese, Western, and Chinese dishes fairly well. That's something I'm truly grateful to Mom for. However, after coming home from a full-time job, preparing dinner can indeed make our mealtimes a little late. Still, I usually finish cooking several dishes within an hour, which I think is pretty efficient. But Hilbert would say something curious. Sophia's meals are so delicious. I just wish we could have them a bit earlier, he said to me with a hint of guilt on his face. Huh, main dish, sides, soup? I get it all done in about an hour. I think that's pretty normal speed. Seeing my slightly downcast face, he hurried to clarify. No, I'm sorry. It's not that I want you to hurry. It's just that Mom used to make the same amount in about 15 minutes. Really? That's amazing. All right, I'll try to get faster at cooking too. On that day, the dinner table boasted minestrone soup, a pork sauté, and a side of spinach salad. Could it be that Sabrina was a rather skilled cook to whip this up in 15 minutes? Feeling a mysterious sense of rivalry and pressure, I was determined to cook every day for Hilbert. I'd set the rice cooker to finish by the time he got home, and I'd prepared the ingredients the day before, but no matter how hard I tried, 30 minutes seemed to be my limit, leaving me feeling frustrated, alone, as I checked the clock. Yet Hilbert never complained. While I cooked, he'd fold the laundry and do other chores, waiting patiently for dinner. Sorry, Hilbert. I wish I could have prepared dinner quicker, but 30 minutes is the best I can do. Seeing my frustrated face. It's because I said that, isn't it? Your cooking is always delicious. It just made me greedy, he said to me. Since marrying me, the slender Hilbert has gained 5 kilos, still within a healthy weight range. I adored him for always asking for seconds and eating the meals I prepared with a delighted smile. During these days, the idea of visiting the in-laws' house after a long time came up. Hello there. My cheerful greeting echoed through the house as a voice called from the back. Sophia, you're as energetic as ever. Your voice resonates right to the back of the house. Sabrina sounded cheerful and her lips curved upwards, but her eyes weren't smiling at all. It was always like this. Her way of saying, your voice is too loud today as well, a veiled insult, but I didn't let it bother me. To an outsider, we might look like a close daughter-in-law and mother-in-law. But it was all nuanced with womanly sarcasm, a so-called joke, something Sabrina was particularly good at. Of course, the oblivious Hilbert and always saintly kind father-in-law Kevin wouldn't notice that. Truth be told, I was aware that Sabrina didn't favor me even before we got married. It all started at a family meeting with both sides present. Oh my, if it isn't Sophia! The one who called out to me was Hilbert's grandma. What? Hannah, is that you? What are you doing here? Watching Hannah and me call each other by our first names, Sabrina glared at us with suspicion. Catching sight of her, I stuttered. Hannah? Could you be Hilbert's grandma? I tried to be formal, but it was too late. Sabrina looked at me as if to say, You're an enemy too. There was nothing I could do about it. Especially since I had heard from Hilbert that mother-in-law and his step-grandmother didn't get along. On this day, my grandma couldn't come due to a cold. The step-grandmother's house and my parents' house were in the same neighborhood, and Hannah, a close friend of my grandma, would often visit. Growing up, I was very close to my grandma, which naturally extended to Hannah. Both had lost their husbands but lived their days with the motto, "Let's enjoy our golden years." Commenting on my jacket, they'd say, "That jacket looks warm, Sophia, but it looks expensive." "This? Got it for about $20, I'd reply, and we'd even end up coordinating outfits for a karaoke outing. "I want to go to a jazz bar." When she expressed her wish, I was more than happy to take them. Hannah was talking about my other grandma. "My daughter-in-law is a bit stiff, not a bad person, but stubborn, and we just can't seem to get along." That was Hannah's refrain. I felt sorry for her, never imagining I'd soon be in for a tough time myself. After getting married, just as I suspected, I was on the receiving end of subtle digs from Sabrina. "Has Sophia's makeup gotten heavier each time I see her? Must be nice being young." Or, "Hilbert, you've gained quite a bit since meeting Sophia. Is everything okay with your nutrition? Or is that just how it is when both work?" I was subjected to these little remarks day in, day out. Once at a gathering, I brought several dishes from home. "Sophia, you're quite the cook, aren't you?" Kevin's compliment obviously didn't sit well with Sabrina. After tasting a few bites of my food, she muttered under her breath, only loud enough for me to hear, "Is it really all that? I could make this much myself. Such an unpleasant show-off." After that, she didn't touch another morsel. "Mom is an excellent cook too, and we're lucky to have her, right, Dad?" When Hilbert said that, even Kevin nodded in agreement. Sabrina's mood quickly improved. Her disposition changing as fast as a tankless water heater. I was a bit downhearted, wondering if my cooking hadn't pleased her palate, but then I saw that the leftovers, which should have been there, had vanished when I wasn't looking. Peeking into the kitchen, I caught Sabrina transferring the rest of the food into containers and tucking it away in the fridge. So it was tasty after all, huh? I still had the heart to think that. Yet, since hearing Hilbert's recent story, I had this odd competitive spirit against Sabrina. "Sabrina, I heard from Hilbert that you're really handy in the kitchen. Could you teach me some of your tricks?" When I reached out to her. "Why should I teach you? Absolutely not. You're still green. Wonder how many years it'll take you to reach my level." She momentarily darkened her expression before retorting. It was the typical, rather harsh cold treatment I got from her. When it was just the two of us, it was especially awful. She wouldn't even meet my eye. Being disliked to this extent, even I felt sadness creeping in. Before one dinner party, Sabrina had been kind to me. But when she found out I got along well with my step-grandmother, she suddenly turned on me as if I were the enemy. Thoughts like, if only we could both meet halfway, maybe we could get along, felt like a fleeting dream. I spent many a day in frustration. Whenever we went to my in-laws' house, Sabrina insisted on cooking alone. That tradition started when I first visited my in-laws' house after getting married. "Sabrina, I'll help out too," I offered from behind, which once gave Sabrina quite the scare. "Don't you dare open this on your own," she'd snapped, slamming the kitchen door with a bang. Hearing friends complain about being overworked by their mother-in-laws or serving nonstop during Christmas, I guess I've had it easy when it comes to cooking. The Christmas I spent shivering and cleaning up the garden was tough, but Hilbert chipped in halfway through, making it bearable. Now that I think of it, Sabrina's dishes do hit the table suspiciously fast. The first meal I had at her place was burgers, potato salad, corn soup, among a few other dishes. All of them were just the right temperature, delicious with a nostalgic taste. I wish Sabrina would stop the antics and share some in-laws' house recipes. Lost in these thoughts, I found myself staring down recipe books more often during work breaks. "Reading recipes again, senior?" chuckled a junior colleague at work. "Your lunches always look so tasty. I really admire you. I just grabbed lunchboxes from the grocery store." My junior colleague at work approached me with a hearty laugh. "If I were on my own, I'd probably do the same," I replied. "Grocery store lunchboxes are nutritious these days. They're totally fine." She laughed and shared some recommendations on the latest grocery store lunchboxes. She even offered a bite of her favorite hamburger, and it was good. Amidst these days, Sabrina's 60th birthday was approaching. We celebrated Kevin's birthday last year, so skipping Sabrina's wasn't an option. I bet she wouldn't be thrilled to be celebrated by someone she dislikes. "Hey, Hilbert, it's Sabrina's birthday soon. What should we do?" I asked. "I've got a little surprise in mind," he said with a mischievous grin. For Sabrina's birthday next month, we got Kevin to take her out, while Hilbert was brimming with excitement. "She's gonna be so surprised," he kept saying. A twinge of apprehension hit me, but I joined Hilbert in decorating and waited for my in-laws' return at the in-laws' house. "Hello, we're back." Kevin's easygoing voice came from the entryway. That was our cue. Rushing to the foyer, Hilbert and I popped the crackers. "Happy birthday, Sabrina!" we exclaimed with gusto. Looking at Sabrina's reaction, you'd think she barely noticed. Actually, she seemed grumpier than usual. "Well, this is a surprise, but why are you here? Doing something like this? This has Sophia written all over it." She glared at me from the corner of her eye and quickly went into the house. Sabrina always seems upset around me, but it's rare to see her like this in front of Hilbert and Kevin. I was pondering this when... "I'm sorry, both of you. I ended up fighting with Sabrina." Apparently, Sabrina had been in a bad mood over some trivial matter, and they had returned home almost in silence. Sighing, we followed Sabrina into the house. Upon entering the living room, Sabrina let out a heavy sigh. Hilbert and I tried our best with the decorations, but she didn't comment on them. She just sat down on a chair sulking. This didn't feel like the atmosphere of a celebration at all. It was the worst. That's what I thought. Should we at least eat? I put a lot of effort into the cooking. With that, Hilbert and I headed for the kitchen. Just then, Sabrina yelled at me with an incredibly loud voice. "Hey, did you just go into the kitchen without asking? Can't you keep a promise?" She glared at me fiercely, while I was at a loss for words. "Why has Mom been so angry since earlier? It's just the kitchen, it's fine. I said it was okay." I had obeyed Sabrina's instructions not to go into the kitchen without permission, but Hilbert, grinning as if amused, assured me it was okay and let me in. Sabrina, adored by her son, fell completely silent at that. Kevin watched this with a look of resignation. The air was awkward, but the dinner table was hastily prepared with dishes that looked a little less perfect than usual. Kevin trying to be considerate. "They look delicious. Excited," said to me. But Sabrina alone kept a sour face and sulked like a child. Once all the dishes were ready, the meal began, and it happened right after that. "Disgusting! This is inedible. I'd like to see the face of the person who made this." Sabrina blurted out such things. Her gaze was fixed firmly on me. Of course, it wasn't true that it was bad. It was just Sabrina's harassment. Since I kept quiet, Sabrina seemed to enjoy it, saying, "I don't know how much time you spent on this, but this is all you've managed? You still have a lot to learn." She snorted in a triumphant manner. Sabrina's tirade didn't stop there. "I can't eat something this terrible." And with that, she threw the food into the trash as if slamming it down. I lost my temper and said, "How could you do that? Apologize." I couldn't help but raise my voice. Sabrina blatantly ignored my plea, as if it was expected. In the silence of the room, "Sophia, it's okay. Let's leave this house and go home." Hilbert's tearful voice reached out to me, shaky and unsure. But as Hilbert and I exchanged these words, Sabrina watched us with a puzzled look. Then, typically quiet, Kevin erupted. "What have you done? Do you realize what you've tossed aside? That meal was Hilbert's special training, his effort to make something for you." Kevin's shout turned Sabrina's face pale in an instant. Whether she was too irritated to notice before, I couldn't tell, but Hilbert's fingers were covered with numerous band-aids. It seemed she'd finally grasped the gravity of the situation. "Oh," But what have I done? Sabrina stammered, clearly panicked, but no one was there to come to her aid in this moment. That's when I, keeping my voice calm, addressed Sabrina. Sabrina, you might not cook often, and might not understand, but cooking involves a lot of steps and takes time. I always find joy in cooking when I think of the faces of those who will enjoy it. To a silent Sabrina, I continued. I'm sorry. I didn't have time to make the cake from scratch, so I bought one. And well, I needed to chill it, which is why I opened the fridge. At my words, Sabrina's face, which had been pale, now flushed with embarrassment. Opening the fridge, Hilbert and I stumbled upon the secret of Sabrina's efficiency. A collection of ready-made meals, predominantly from a grocery store, and a freezer packed so full with frozen food that it looked ready to burst. Seeing this, Hilbert laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, looks like Mom isn't keen on cooking either, huh?" His smile was genuine and kind. As Sabrina's birthday approached, Hilbert had been eagerly practicing his cooking to surprise her. For a month, every evening was filled with Hilbert's culinary training. "You always go to such lengths for us. Thank you for the delicious meals, Sophia. I can't wait to see Mom's surprised face," he would often say. Though I suggested cooking at home for convenience, Hilbert insisted on cooking fresh at his parents', ignoring my suggestion. I had a certain apprehension, so I brought everything from cooking utensils to spices. Hilbert laughed at me bringing even knives and cutting boards, but my premonition was spot on. The kitchen at my in-laws' house was unusually clean. The seasonings were mostly expired, and the cutting boards were slightly dusty. When I opened the fridge, I wasn't particularly surprised. I'd noticed for a while now how Sabrina's meals seemed to be prepared so quickly. The hamburger that a junior colleague shared with me recently had the exact same taste of my Sabrina's signature dish. During her cooking, there was also this incessant beeping sound. It was today, when borrowing the microwave, that I realized that sound was coming from it. Using ready-to-made meals isn't a bad thing. I resort to them when I'm busy too. But claiming them as your own handmade creation, that's another story. Confronted with silence, Sabrina heard from her husband. "My dad grew up very poor. If I left even a bean on my plate, I'd get an earful. I was raised to believe that wasting food made you the scum of the earth." The way he put it, it sounded like he was calling Sabrina the scum of the earth. Kevin continued, and shockingly, he ended up declaring he wanted a divorce. He couldn't condone her attitude towards me either. "No, please, anything but divorce," she pleaded with Kevin. "You're apologizing to the wrong person," he retorted sharply. Sabrina turned to us, bowed deeply, and apologized. To be honest, at that point, I didn't care either way. I just thought that understanding Sabrina would be difficult moving forward. But knowing how hard Hilbert had tried over the past month, I just felt this sting of regret. Glancing sideways, I saw Hilbert with a fury in his eyes I'd never seen before. As he finished packing, he stood up. "Huh, forgive? No way. Wasting food? Treating people badly? It makes you the scum of the earth. And after today, it's clear how rude you've been to Sophia. Sorry, but I never want to speak to you again, Mom." With that, he stormed out of the house. I could barely hide my own turmoil. I'll be going too," I murmured, and with a bow, followed Hilbert out of the in-laws' house. Sabrina's wails followed us, but I didn't look back. As for the in-laws, Sabrina stayed out of the condition that she change her attitude towards me, or else face divorce. There was one apology call. "I do feel bad, but seeing you chat with Hannah, it just irked me." She was talking about such things. It seemed it would take a while to receive a heartfelt apology, but I wasn't really expecting one. Whether they divorced or not was frankly a matter for my in-laws, and honestly, it didn't concern me. Then there's Hannah, the step-grandmother, now living with my in-laws. Turns out the in-laws' house was originally Hannah's, and the stubborn pair had never really gotten along since the marriage, which led to Hannah practically running away to the aunt-in-law's house. So that's why it's near my house. When Hannah heard about the hellish 60th birthday celebration, You always had my respect. But to learn you've hurt my precious grandkids, that's the last straw. From now on, I'll be the one to whip that nasty attitude into shape. And it's not just about mastering the microwave." She gave the 60-year-old Sabrina a piece of her mind, and it seems like she's been getting some late-in-life daughter-in-law training from her ever since. "Hannah was saying the other day that it took daughter-in-law a whole 15 minutes just to peel a carrot." Grandma mentioned that when I dropped by my parents' place. Back in the day, she could have whipped up an entire meal in that time. Hearing that made me laugh. Hilbert was only mad that one day, and by the next, he was back to his kind self. Gobbling up my cooking like it was the best thing ever made me wonder if that other day was just a hallucination. But it seems it wasn't, and there's no forgiving Sabrina in the foreseeable future. With a chuckle, I thought, isn't that stubbornness just like Sabrina herself? "Huh, Sophia, are you feeling okay? You're hardly eating anything." Worried about my lack of appetite, I just grinned and quietly rubbed my belly. Seeing that, "What?" Hilbert's eyes went wide as he stood up exclaiming, "Soon our family will be growing. Hoping for a child who's as kind and sincere as they come, I look forward to continuing this life with my precious family."